That should work. Oh, that's some light.
Here. Okay, hold on, let me go into a double log in. Twice. Okay, this is me logged in here. Okay, I'm logged in. Oh. Okay, I see you. Okay, on here. It's weird. Hold on, let me go into a double log in. Don't worry about it. It's still not, it doesn't look right, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Like I said, I'll just after you do present your presentation, just take the screen down because okay. How am I going to do this? Because I'm doing the old-fashioned way. Okay, I'm going to log out of this computer and bring in my other computer so I don't have a double echo. And I'm going to just share you manually to all the other platforms. I'm going to cut the sound off. And you can just start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I apologize for the late start, 7:14. I was trying to figure out my share stuff. Inshallah, you can see the talk, the paper, and myself. Today, what we're going to do is talk about the occipital lobe, the back, and then the vision, and the cerebellum. But I'd like to start with why we're even talking about the details like this. Sometimes we lose our sometimes this just isn't interesting. But it's really important that we understand what, for me, we've got at least two really popular hadith about the forelock, and we have 3 different verses of the Quran. Of course, the Arabic wording of the forelock may have slight differentiations in there. But the idea is that, for example, the forehead and the forelock and the frontal lobe and all the executive function, for Allah to tell us in the Quran about the forelock, and I know at least one famous scholar described it as grabbing hold of the hair and controlling it, and it had something to do with the uncle's vanity and all that stuff. But the implication from later in Surah Hud, from another verse, is every living creature, Allah has us, or every moving creature, depending on how the word is translated, Allah has us by our forelock. Now, some of us are not blessed with hair. So the one literal, if that's a literal translation of that word for the uncle, I'm cool with that. I would never argue with a scholar. And at the same time, though, some of us have no hair there. So a lying, sinning forelock and Surah Hud and the other verse and the hadith imply or would indicate, especially like a lying, sinning forelock. I mean, this is where you make the decision to lie, to commit sins. This is where you inhibit it or you initiate it or pretend you're about to commit a sin and be way too direct with your spouse, or you're going to be way too direct. You're going to be rude. And that would be considered a sin too if you can avoid it. So you would want to not be 100% direct, or maybe you should tell the brother or sister, correct them, but you inhibit the initiation, you inhibit the desire to do it now. So you're avoiding the sinning part of this forelock area. And yeah, if you're talking about hair, but what is that hair attached to? What is that hair overlay? What does that hair, by grabbing and controlling this area, doesn't talk about grabbing you by the back of your head and you can see, or your parietal lobes and you can feel. It's literally this forelock area, the front. And with Surah Hud, there's a confirmation of that kind of thought process for me, in the sense that you've got every living creature at least has this. a thinking part. Even lizards, non-hairy lizards, right? No hair, no anything, but they've got that front. Alligators have their front. Crocodiles have that front. A lot of we have the front. Okay, so understanding that this is the area of executive function. This is the area right here that controls the motor units that you take your steps towards, that you speak the good or bad stuff, that you recite Quran, that you ask and beg for those good the blessings, and you verbalize the good deeds by just giving salams and smiling. That is all done here, and committing sins is all done here. So it's important to understand that. And then, as we talked about several weeks ago, the forelock, or excuse me, the frontal lobe, I gave you ways to train that. And we're going to review that today because it's very important. And I'm going to try to finish today with just a group of exercises, real teeny tiny, that all of us can do at home. And then when it relates to autism, think about what I was talking about in the motor units. We started this thing a couple weeks ago with talking about primitive reflexes that are way down here at the opposite end of your brain. They are below your brain, in your brain stem, just inside your skull, with your frontal decision area hopefully as an adult, making all of your decisions. Every patient I've ever tested, all of my autistic kids, even my what you would say ADHD people that go to school, but they still have imbalances, or what we call, and I find it in all of them, what's called primitive reflexes. That is the area. Those are the things like babies learning how to breastfeed and turning their head, and you put your finger in a baby's hand and it closes. Babies don't have this development yet. So this forelock area is not used to being used. This is conscious motor movement, or trained in motor movement, reactions, not reflexes. So when we talk about reflexes, primitive reflexes, that's the baby's movement, where the startle all the time. That should be gone in adults. That should be gone in about a year. You've got the startle reflex. You've got the grab, what we call the palmar grasp reflex. You've got, like I said, the rooting or sucking reflex. You've got what we call a snout reflex. You touch right here and the lips poke up. All these things are primitive reflexes to stimulate motor function. And babies stimulate the reflexes enough. You grab the baby's hand, you hold hands, you rub the face, you do stuff. You rub the feet, you hold them, you try to help them learn how to walk and stuff. When they're crawling, they should learn how to crawl. Really important aspect of crawling is pushing off with the feet and the toes, with the toes in particular. So they learn to grab down and push. Okay. There's all these reflexes in there that help the body learn how to move, so that then when the brain, the cerebrum, the cortical area, that area then can tell the rest of the body it's bottom-up growth and development, top-down control. So if you still have these primitive reflexes, this frontal lobe isn't in control yet, and you're making bad decisions and maybe committing more sins than you should. And then we learn the parietal lobes, and sensing also has something to do with vision. We learn the temporal lobes, hearing, a lot of verbal stuff, and vision. Then now we're going to talk about the vision center, the occiput, and how easy that is to train. And we use a lot of vision in the office. Higher level when I'm dealing with stroke patients, when I'm dealing with brain trauma patients, and at the end of autism and at the end of the ADH care, we start really getting into visual training, because that can stimulate and touch base with every area of the brain. So let's go, now we'll jump into the occipital. This area, the functions here are literally vision. It doesn't break down into a lot of detail in your occipital lobe. It picks up a little bit of what we call visual spatial processing, or seeing and judging, trying to help judge distances, because if something comes flying at you and your vision is the first thing to pick it up, you want to judge how close it is, and then it gets pushed up into the front, and the parietal lobes really help with what it is, how far away it is, how fast it's coming. It's also really important, again, spatially, for depth perception and judging distances. And then everything gets pushed forward into the parietal lobes and temporal lobes. Even though this is mainly sound, it has a lot to do with detailed vision. Then you've also got really cool, because it fires into the middle and helps with memory centers, visual memory. When you see something, people that have good directional sense, they like, uh, they recognize areas, they recognize um, landmarks. Usually the details are over here, but you also get this sense of vision and spatial awareness that help with memory and with that remembering where you are, how far away things are. Khalid bin Walid, I told you about the story where he broke up his army into, it was 30,000 against over 200. The Romans broke up their army into three different groups, and there were three different groups coming together to add up to over 100. Khalid bin Walid used his visual spatial centers, and he knew the geography to time it out and order his army after he intentionally broke them up to attack from three different directions. And the first one, I remember where they met, the first one at the water hole at the oasis. And he had the judge, he had the visual spatial stuff. He could picture where they were going to be, how long it would take. He told his armies how fast to ride. The three of them met there from three different locations. He led a frontal assault. At that point, they ride through 1/3 of the Roman army. 1/3 is like 60, 70,000, right? So he rides through them, total disarray, total disorganization, just blows right through them, kills everybody they can, totally disrupts everything, they probably went through the food stuff, they went through supplies, they rode through and just sprinted out, okay? Then he had the other two divisions of his army stationed on his exit, and they attacked the disorganized but very angry Roman pursuit. Picture the visual, spatial, and judging, and that, again, when we talk about distance and depth perception, it's not just with your eyes open. You can close your eyes and know how close that camera is. Right. Yep. I reached just a little bit past it. Open my eyes. You have a visual memory, as I said, helping with the visual memory parts of your hippocampus and your memory system. So the occiput is really, really important. And it's really interesting, though. Your eyes are up front, the detect the vision stuff, and your visual centers are the farthest point away. Then it comes forward again, like I said, into the other areas. Really, really cool design. It's also very important to object recognition, because if something's flying at you, you want to know whether you duck or whether you try to catch it, whether it's sharp, whether you should run, whether you should hide or duck, or just push something in front of it. And so that's really important with object recognition, but the details actually come after it's pushed forward into your temporal lobe. Then you've got facial recognition, hugely important. When I learned this, I thought this was one of the neatest things. You don't recognize faces back here, which is really interesting. You actually recognize faces through the area of the brain that comes from the occiput through a Brodmann area right here down into another lower Brodmann area. I think it's 39 and 22. This is part of your parietal lobe and then your temporal lobe, and they all come together to recognize faces. So people literally have something called prosopagnosia, meaning they can look right at you and not recognize you at all and know you. And literally know you, but they cannot see faces. Hard thing to work with, but they cannot see faces. They recognize people by shapes, by movement, by voices. Real cool biblical story. After that crucifixion stuff, the biblical Jesus joins several of his disciples walking from where he was crucified, in quotation marks we say, but they're walking along the road. Jesus walks up and joins them. Perfect biblical example of prosopagnosia. And it totally accounts for the verse in the Quran of the face of Jesus being placed over another one. But it's really cool in the sense of the Bible that they didn't recognize Jesus and they don't give us a reason. They absolutely don't give us a reason. But it's interesting that they didn't recognize him. He walked with them. He asked them why they were sad, all that stuff. And nobody recognized them till they got to the house where they joined other disciples and had food. But that's prosopagnosia. You do not recognize faces, and that's a occiput temporal parietal lobe thing. It's not even just the occiput and vision. It's literally your brain processing faces. Now, of course, why would you want to stimulate the occiput? Obviously, you want to be able to see, and you want the best visual processing you can get. And we'll talk about how to do that. One of my favorite toys in the office, one of the favorite toys. This is a really cool toy, but to help with depth perception, eyes working together. The better your vision is, the less you have to struggle with your vision, the better your memory will be. It's really interesting that vision and smell both are huge players in your memory system. If you can't see well, it really affects your visual memory and recognition of things, of people, of just stuff, of letters. If you can't remember what letters look like, you can't read, can you? So the idea is that vision is hugely important for our memories, especially with this dramatic rise in Alzheimer's and dementia, starting right in there, right there with your smell centers, where your hippocampus, your memory centers, your memory janitor is right there by your smell centers. And it's hugely important, the vision and smell for memory stimulation. And then, of course, to recognize things and for facial recognition. You absolutely want to stimulate the occipital lobe along with those other two areas that are really important for facial recognition. Again, you all know I use a lot of laser in my office. Yes, cold laser is an expensive device. When you buy FDA approved laser devices, they are pricey. The LED devices you can get through the internet or from companies, and you usually get a really good price if you deal with a company directly. Those work if you were literally going to get one. Whereas I might use 10 minutes with a patient, you're going to be using 20 to 30. And you want LED devices, or what they call laser devices, somewhere in the range of over 600 nms or nanometers. You don't have to know why. It's depth of penetration. But you want over 600 and over 800 are the two areas. And the over 800 gets a deeper penetration. So if you're ever looking at those, that's what you want to look for. Hugely important. I am constantly lasering the back of my patients' heads. Really, really important to make sure vision works for balance centers, make sure vision works for memory centers, make sure vision works for parietal and temporal lobe stimulation. And all of that put together really helps give the right information for your forelock or your frontal lobes to make the best decisions possible. Really, really important. When we talk about real and virtual landscapes, nature walks, combine that with the next two words, visual stimulation. Visual stimulation is, in this sense, is when you're walking on a nature walk through the woods, through the desert, through the canyons. When I was in South Africa, there was just outside of Graaff-Reinet, there was a game reserve. And I used to go out there for a drive, and it was really, really flat, very dry. But there were a couple, literally, there were mated ostriches in the area. There were meerkats down the road. When I drove in, there was trees with monkeys right there by the entrance I went in on. The kudu, if y'all ought to Google up the word or search up the word kudu, Kudu, see how big these things are. But they used to migrate through. So literally, even that great landscape to work on vision, because I've got to look from it, because ostriches are real aggressive, territorial, all that stuff. If they're not raised, like if they're not trained and raised around people, if they're wild, they are wild. They attack cars. They just lose their minds. Huge feet too. Like one claw is probably 5 fingers wide. It was crazy to see that stuff. But I kept the distance, but I enjoyed, again, depth perception, the distance stuff, the visual stimulation. Then I've got to look over, and the meerkats were way up there, and you pick up their movements. It's just really cool stuff. So nature walks, whether it's real or virtual, it's all the information that your brain, using your eyes and your occipital lobe to differentiate, like the leaves from the branches from the trees from the woods, trying to find your pathways, all that stuff. The visual stimulation is huge. And then eye movement exercises, and I'm going to review quite a few of them tonight. The eye movement exercises, and I forgot it. Okay. Pretend this is a shoelace. What you would do is literally you can simply tie in a knot in your shoelace. Okay. Here's my first knot. I'm going to go a little farther out. Here's my second knot in a shoelace. You can paint it, color it, marker it. And then here's going to be my third knot. Okay. These are a little long. I'd have to have my kids or my mother help me with this one. So we'll just use the first two and my finger. Now, what you're going to do, this is called pretend Brock string, B-R-O-C-K. You see it right there. You're going to hold the one end here at the tip of your nose, and you're going to look at the first knot. Then, like this, so that you can see over the top. Now I look at the first knot, and it'd be really nice if it was a real tight ball. Or you can use the beads, put those on your string, tape them on or glue them on, and you can use colored beads to differentiate. This is really cool. So you're here like this, and I'm going to use these two circles that I tied, and I look at the first one, then I jump to the second one, then I look at the first one, then I jump to the second one. When I look at the first one, I should literally see I should see two lines coming towards my nose when I'm looking at the circle, and I do. When I jump to the next one, I should see two lines going into that towards that second knot, and actually they come together right about here. So that's when my eyes an object gets too close and I start differentiating. My eyes give two pieces of information. It's usually farther out. The younger you are, the better your vision is. Okay, so here we go. I look at that dot right there, and I've got two lines almost all the way to this circle. And that's a Brock string. You look here, then you look to the second dot or the second circle, then you look farther out. That's a that simple exercise right there is that's a game winner, and that's been around for years. I mean, the Brock string is everything. There we go. Now let's go into the cerebellum. Hugely important. This is the gigantic coordinator of everything. This controls, when we think about your cerebellum, most people think about that alcohol stuff in a drunk test, because it's very important for muscular control, especially your posture from behind, especially your core, your middle, even your spine, especially your spine, even more so your spine than your front, but your front middle also. Your cerebellum, especially your medial cerebellum, your middle cerebellum, hugely important for posture control. It's also, as small as it is, when you look at it, it's only this little bit right here at the base of my skull on both sides of my spine. That tiny area has more neurons compacted in there and more blood vessels to feed that density than the whole rest of your brain combined together. So think about how important the cerebellum must be. We all think about coordinated movement and balance, right? And stability. You feel centered when you're standing. Not only is it hugely important for posture control, which feeds a lot of information to your brain, and coordinated movement, but it's also coordinating your thoughts and your emotions. This organ right here balances you out. That's why these people that get drunk all the time, they're all over the place emotionally. We talk about inhibition because now your frontal lobes, there's nothing helping your frontal lobes moderate themselves. The cerebellum this left side fires to my right frontal lobe, and this right side fires to my left frontal lobe. If these are interfered with, what's going on up here, totally, you lose all of your inhibitions in the sense that the balance of everything is gone. That control is gone. The like balance and stability here, it's gone. There's no coordinated movement. That's why you failed the physical test. The thoughts and emotions are all over the place. People that might be real reserved become very loose and grabby and handsy and immoral. Other people that might let go of their emotions and they're crying all the time and oh my gosh, and they no longer can inhibit the worry and they just fold in public. I've seen it. I mean, even before I was in Islam, I stopped drinking in my late 20s, and I was literally the designated driver for my friends before I came to Islam and stuff. And man, even guys cry bawling like crazy because they literally totally interfered with their cerebellar function by this alcohol stuff. And not only does it decrease inhibitions and could self-control, but it also interferes and it actually destroys, it kills neurons in your brain. And remember, now the research shows there's neurons in your heart. So it actually kills. Alcohol will kill neurons, and you kill them and you can't replace them. What we do, like with my brain trauma patients, we actually try to stimulate other pathways and reinforce the ones that work so they can take over and make up for what might have died in a stroke or brain trauma. So the idea is the cerebellum is really important, not just being a coordinated athlete or avoiding falling as you get older. It's hugely important for your thoughts and your emotions. It's really everything for that. It's balanced everything in the human body, everything. Then you also have language processing is hugely important. Think about how finely controlled, how balanced, how coordinated your motor movements to get your tongue to work right with your lips, to get your jaw to work right, to get your breathing to work right. That's a lot of activity. And your cerebellum is hugely important for language processing, then coordinating all of that, moving it forward so that it makes sense, combining with other areas of your brain and improving memory function. Strong cerebellum, strong memory. And then, like I said, really surprising, along with how dense it is and how much neuronal stuff is in there and how much blood flow is in there, was the fact that your cerebellum, hugely important. I didn't learn it till I started dealing with autism and ADHD. The sense of smell, the ability, not the sense of smell, the ability to sniff is controlled by your cerebellum. If you have a child that can't sniff, that's why our patients, we're dealing with two boys right now, a 6-year-old and a about to turn 12 years old. And there's a big age difference. Neither one of them could sniff. You'll see kids playing with things, and if they can smell, if they realize smell, if they understand there's a smell, they always bring their fingers to their nose. They'll lick their fingers and smell their saliva. They'll touch they do it in the office because the kids usually take their shoes off. Actually, they always take their shoes off. We're on the mats. I want them to feel the carpeting. It's tight carpet, but I want their feet to be active when they're walking on my 2x4s, my 2x4x8, when they're doing balance. I want them to feel everything through their feet. Really fires into the cerebellum and the vestibular system. So literally, these kids are constantly bringing it up to their nose because they can't sniff. They breathe, but they don't sniff. That lets me know we have to do so much work for their cerebellum. That's why we're doing balance exercises, why we're doing so much. My kids, these kids can plank, these kids can side plank. This one young man, one of the biggest improvements he's made is in his plank, and he's smelling too. He chooses his favorite smells now and all that stuff. But literally, believe it or not, doing planks and side planks to strengthen his cerebellum is to strengthen every function of the cerebellum, getting him emotionally regulated, balance, getting his thoughts to be more smooth and coordinated so that he doesn't stress himself out, improved with planks, side planks. We do a lot of glute bridges or hip bridges on the floor. It's really cool stuff. I learning that planks help the cerebellum to help the sense of sniffing or smell was something I had never learned in all of my health and phys ed education, my chiropractic education 30 years ago. And then when I got into the brain itself, now people that study the brain know that stuff. And chiropractic's come a long way too in the 30 years, even since I was in school. But the idea is you think about your cerebellum with your balance centers and all that, with balanced thoughts, balanced emotions, balanced coordinated physical movement, and the ability to sniff. That is just really cool. And all of those are reasons why you would want to stimulate that stuff. I mean, we have to. And of course, everyone knows the first thing I use to stimulate the cerebellum is cold laser. We light that cerebellum up like nobody's business. And like I said earlier, that red light, that red and infrared we use, and we use both for a variety of reasons, depending on the patient. We'll light this area up over here. Like all of the patients I have right now, yeah, every single one of them is a left hemisphere dominant. So we're lighting up the left hemisphere of the cerebellum because that stimulates the opposite hemisphere. So if I were to ask you, if I've got you standing on your left leg to stimulate your left cerebellum, all of that is to still stimulate your right hemisphere. Okay. So just because I want to say this, your hemisphere controls your opposite body. Your cerebellum controls the same side body. That's how it works. Okay. So everything crosses through, all of this stuff crosses through the brain. So the whole brain hopefully is aware of everything that's going on, no matter what side it is. It's really, really pretty cool. What a beautiful design, isn't it? And literally what you want to do is some simple stuff. Pretend what we do is we talk about complicated coordinated movement. For example, and we've talked about it before, I'll use a figure eight or the infinity sign. You would do this both, and I'll keep it in the screen here. We do it as big as you can. You could way over, and you're going to do it both horizontally and you're going to do it vertically as I try to keep it in the screen. Okay. Pretend you could see my leg. You would do the same thing. You would hold the leg out and you're going to do it horizontally and you're still going to do it vertically. Okay. And left arm, left cerebellum, right hemisphere. Okay. So here I'm stimulating my right side. Here I'm stimulating my left. And there's a whole bunch of really cool little movements you can do. We do a lot of crawling in the office and a lot of to develop cross crawl. We do crawling on the hands and knees. We do a bear walk where your knees are off the floor and you're on your feet. We also do a crab walk where your hands and feet are on the floor, and we try to train the kids to keep their behinds off the floor so that we're using the large muscle groups right now almost exclusively to strengthen my right hemisphere weak patients, left hemisphere dominant patients. Lots of crawling. And then that crawling, not only is it physically hard and stimulating, trying to get the hemispheres to work together, because you're using right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. And so it's opposite sides working together. It's your cerebellum trying to coordinate all that so that the opposite sides can work together. So these kind of things, and again, like I said, planking for the core. Anything you do with the middle of your body, anything you do with the middle of your body is cerebellar. And that includes eye movement. Eye exercises like what we just talked about and a few more that I'm going to talk about in a minute are hugely important because those are considered midline structures. Eye exercises for your cerebellum, smelling for your cerebellum, all the way down from your nose, your eyes, all the way down through the middle is cerebellar activity. core central body activity. All of that fires your cerebellum and then the opposite lobes, hemispheres. You should also do real simple. And if you have balance issues, stand between two chairs. I'll have patients in the office with adults. I'll have them stand in a corner facing out. And what you'll do is you've got the corner on either side, and I'll have them put a chair right in front of them to do all of these exercises. And you start really, really, really basic. You're going to start with a two-legged stance with feet touching, narrowing your stability centers, your feet, right? Narrowing your feet, your stabilizers. Then what you're going to do is you're going to work up to, ideally, you could stand there perfectly balanced, hands at your sides, or when we do a concussion protocol, the best tests, hands on your sides and you don't let them leave. Then what you're going to do, not only if you can hit 60 seconds with your eyes open, a minimum of 30. If you can hit 30 seconds, feet together, eyes open, great cerebellar function. Then you're going to do it eyes closed. And there, think about it. If you start to waver because your eyes are out of the picture, that means your cerebellum and probably your vestibular interaction is really off. But you're right there between the two walls. So the minute you go one way or the other, you touch something and you'll start to self-correct or keep your hands at your sides, depending on where you are. You can't fall forward because the chair is right there. So most people will move their foot to catch themselves, right? But that's the safe way to do standing tests. 2 feet together. Then what we call tandem. That's the heel to toe. And then you're going to do one leg and you're training the back leg. So here I'm training my pretend that's feet. I'm training my right leg, my right cerebellum, and my left hemisphere. Then you're going to go for 30 seconds there, right? Then you're going to switch feet. Now I'm training my left foot, my left cerebellum, and my right hemisphere. So when I'm working with an autistic kid that's a dominant left, I'm going to be doing a lot of left foot back tandem stances. Here, I might start with 5 to 10 seconds here, then I'll have them switch feet. I'll do that many seconds here, 5 to 10 there. Then I'll switch back and I'll do another 5 to 10 here. So I tend to do twice as much on the weak one as I do on the strong one, whatever the goal is. Once you get to 20 seconds, you do that twice. Now it's 40 seconds on the bad one. Then you want to shoot for 30 seconds all the way up to 1 minute. After you do that, eyes open, eyes closed. Nightmare. Then what you do is you train in one leg at a time. And again, it's the down leg, obviously, that you're working. And again, you're shooting for 30 seconds, eyes open on each leg, then 30 seconds, eyes closed on each leg. And again, make sure you are safe. You are literally standing where the corners come together and you've got a chair in front of you, a high back chair, so that you can touch it the minute you want to. You can touch the walls the minute you want to. That's the way you can train in cerebellum stuff. If you've had strokes, but you can stand up, man, start doing it right now. And remember, if you had a stroke, try moving because they still move. This problem, when I have patients that come in and they've got what we call a flexion escape here, literally, I train in the extensors to get them working again. We use TENS units. We use all of that. We are actually trying to stimulate that side. And even if you're like this, you can still do a complicated, I can't move my arm. Well, you can move your shoulder. That's the same infinity sign, isn't it? And that's what I have my patients do. Then I whack their tricep trying to get the arm out, and then, or I'll TENS unit it, and then I try to get them to do it. And it may look crazy, but the more stim, the more demand you make from yourself, the better you're going to be. And then weight lift, believe it or not, any kind of weight training. You can start in a chair. You can do just your arms. You can do leg extensions, straighten your legs out. If you can stand up and then sit down, stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down. I know we can do that. I mean, you stand up out of your living room chair, you walk into the kitchen, then you walk to your living room chair and sit down again. You stand up, you go to potty, you come back, you go to the bedroom, you get in bed, you stand up and sit down. Something as simple as that can help train things in, okay? That could be literally weight training, you lifting your body up and down. If you can, martial arts, oh my gosh, one of the best brain stimulations out there. You have to learn how to control you, and you have to learn how to make good decisions while you're interacting with your environment or your opponent. Then you're also trying to pre-plan, you're trying to initiate, you're trying to inhibit, all kinds of stuff. You may see something you want to do, but then they change, so you inhibit it. That self-control, that coordinated brain function, that coordinated thought, and the immediate response, tying in the motor units of the frontal lobe with the opposite hemispheres of the cerebellum, firing to the opposite hemispheres of your frontal lobe. Really phenomenal activities. With that said, that's the cerebellum. Now we've covered everything in the brain, and all that stuff is done. Really cool. I think this is interesting in the sense that this organ this part of your brain by itself, like I said, in terms of our religion, it's hugely important. And the reason I say that is because we're supposed to take a balanced and middle road approach, aren't we? Even Umar radiallahu anh said that he was approached, I think it was by Aisha radiallahu anha, or was it? I think it was Aisha radiallahu anha. And she commented that they were worried when he became the caliph that he was so strict, because he was real strict behind Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and behind Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, or beside. And he said he had to be, because both of them were really, really sensitive, and he had to be the sword behind that. And that's why he literally consciously made that decision. And then when he became the leader and he's making the decisions, he knew he had to soften his approach. Not only is that a decision, an active decision up here, showing a real deep knowledge of our religion. And again, the Prophet ﷺ said, if there was anyone that was if there was going to be a prophet after him, it would have been assigned to Umar radiallahu anhu. So that's amazing. MashaAllah, that is amazing. And think about now the balance that he has to have. He trained or practiced and really was wired to be strong, locked in on that decision, unequivocal, and sometimes aggressive with it. And there were verses revealed that said, yes, some people sowed discord and that guy should have had his head chopped off. So that balance and that ability to redo something, imagine how strong, and of course he was a phenomenal warrior and a giant of a man, so there's a lot to balance there, right? Think about that cerebellar function, and on a lot of the Muslims, the Sahaba and the Sahabiyat that we look at, how impressive must they have been? And one of the best ways you can train in cerebellar function is through physical activity and asking your body to do stuff, whether it's martial arts, whether it's yoga, whether it's chair exercises and weightlifting that's really popular right now, especially if you're coming off of a surgery or bad injuries, or you're not as mobile and stable as you'd like to be. Any kind of weight training is hugely important for brain function. And a real cool research project, multiple projects confirm this. The stronger your legs are and the more muscular your legs are, the more dense your brain in terms of neurons, good function, more density. The thicker, the stronger your brain function is, believe it or not. They literally measured and quote, they literally tied the two together. Leg strength and size tied into brain strength and size. Really, really cool research. So weight training is really, really important. And like I said, martial arts, it's not allowed for us, but dancing, obviously, because you're interacting with someone like martial arts, only you're not fighting for your life, right? And then, believe it or not, like I said, something as simple as trying to train in smell and train in, like as an adult, make sure you can still smell. And then again, you can do real simple, the stances that we just talked about. Feet close together, 30 seconds, eyes open, then eyes closed. When you can do that, then you do the tandem stances. 30 seconds eyes open, 30 seconds eyes closed, 1 foot back, 1 foot forward. Then you have single leg stances, 30 seconds open, 30 seconds closed. And imagine how much muscular training that's going to be. Then you've got the infinity sign. Whether you've got a whole arm or you only move part of an arm, you're still using a lot of big muscles up here in your torso, aren't you? Do the same thing with your legs, vertically and horizontally. Then the eye function, hugely important. I got to tell you, you guys, I'm going to remind you because you've got frontal eye fields, you've got your frontal lobe, you've got your parietal lobes, you've got some vision with your temporal lobes, you've got some vision with your parietal lobes, and you've got your occipital lobes, and your cerebellum is really influenced by vision, isn't it? So let me review what a visual pursuit is. The pursuit is really important for that same side parietal lobe. Vision test. And then, of course, you're working your cerebellum because your eyes are moving together. And you're judging distance, you're judging movement, all that stuff. Coordinated eye movement, cerebellum, parietal lobe, taking in the information and doing the movement. Your frontal eye fields in your frontal lobe and your motor, that's part of your motor centers. And your primary motor center, this is a visual pursuit. Here's my one thumb, right at the edge of the screen. Here's my other thumb. The pursuit means I'm going to follow with my eyes only this thumb moving. Let me look to the edge of the screen there. Then I use that same frontal lobe to push it back. My eyes get pushed back to the thumb. Then this joins that. Then this pulls my eyes across. Then right back to the screen there, okay? Then my eyes jump back here, there. Now pretend it's only my eyes. I'll show you what it looks like. If it was only my eyes, but I'm taking my whole head to it so that I'll exaggerate, my eyes follow, that's the parietal lobe, pulling my eyes over, my frontal eye field deciding what's important by following the movement, my motor centers in my frontal lobe, my visual centers in the back registering what's going on, judging distance and speed, and then my temporal lobes also registering stuff. So here we go. Then I jump back, right? So my eyes pull, then they jump back. Then I'm going to move my eyes by themselves. That's a visual pursuit. There, jump back. That's a visual pursuit. That's to stimulate the right hemisphere. The pull is right parietal lobe. The push back is right frontal lobe. And then your cerebellum, frontal eye, all that's working. Then if you want to do the other side, you literally pull that way, jump back. Pull this way, jump back. Okay. That's a visual pursuit and a saccade. The saccade is the jump back. The pursuit is the pull, okay? Jump back, that's the saccade, that's the frontal lobe. Parietal pull, pursuit. Frontal lobe, saccade, pushes back or jumps back. Then we also have what we call convergence and divergence. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I also want to mention anti-saccades. Pretend I'm looking right at the middle, the white dot, the camera. I'm looking at the white dot. This is my right side. This is my left side. What I'm going to do is the finger moves. My eyes jump to it. That's a saccade. Then they go back. Then this one moves. As soon as it moves, my eyes jump to it. And then they go back if you're working by yourself. You can't really work by yourself as much because you know what's going to move. But you can still practice saccadic movement, jumping from finger to finger, from corner to corner in a room, from corner to corner on a screen. Practice your saccades. Anti-saccades are a partner exercise. This one wiggles. Now you use inhibition. Wiggle, jump. I jump the other way. Wiggle, jump the other way over here. Okay. So wiggle, jump away. Wiggle, jump away. That is an anti-saccade. That actually has really a strong stimulation for the frontal lobe and inhibiting your natural reaction to look at movement, if that makes sense. So the movement is over here and you look over there. The movement is over here and you look over there. That's an anti-saccade. So we saw pursuits, saccade, and then anti-saccade, okay? Those are phenomenal brain training exercises for adults. I don't use those with my autistic kids. I might try it Yes, actually, we use it at level 10 autism when the kids are at their age level, when the kids are, we just started eye exercises with my he just turned 12 yesterday. Yes. Um, we just started eye exercises with him. And he's pretty advanced. So that's at the end of most of my autism or my ADHD training. If it's a brain trauma patient, that's later in training too. But you guys at home, if you can do it now, do those now. Following is pursuit. Jumping is saccade, and jumping away from movement is anti-saccade. And then we talked about the Brock string. You're going to look at the string, the very tip of it. You're going to jump to the first bean, then you're going to jump to the second bean, then you're going to jump all the way out to the thumb, or if someone's helping you, or you could tie it to the wall and get even more depth going. These are all great visual exercises. And we haven't talked about hemisphericity, as I mentioned, strong right or strong left. We haven't really talked about the details there, but if you want to know if you're a strong hemisphere, which hemisphere you have, strong or weak, what will happen is you can have a partner do this. You'll have your partner move both directions one at a time. You'll have the partner, they'll actually move the pen or a finger from right to left. Does that make sense? And then the other way, you'll also have them move left to right, and you'll measure those. And then what you're going to do is they'll ask you, I'll give you a direction. Pretend someone gives me the direction. They tell me to say stop whenever I think it's dead center. Now here I'm cheating a little bit because I'm actually doing it. My cerebellum's helping, all that stuff. If you have a hemispheric problem, pretend I'm moving this way and I stop short of middle. This is middle. I'm right over my white dot. Okay. If I stop over here, or I come from this side and I stop over here, that indicates a possible right deficit, right hemisphere weakness, meaning you're a strong left personality, like Uma radiallahu anh, like Aisha radiallahu anha. There's a lot of great things over there. The memorization, the commitment, the optimism is a left hemisphere strength. It's inborn. Right hemisphere people, we tend to be optimistic in a naive way, or once we come to Islam, man, we're optimistic trying to make it to Jannah because Allah gave us the book and we know what the rules are. So I'm more optimistic than I have ever been in my entire life since I've become a Muslim and done even more studying and reading and stuff. And I just finished a great book. Oh, it's right here. Reflecting on the Names of Allah, the 99 Names by Dr. Jinan Yusuf. Phenomenal book studying the 99 names. Over 400 pages of holy cow. And there's going to be some stuff for an autism talk out of that. But the idea is, again, these eye function exercises are hugely important. Now we're going to do, along with pursuits, saccades, and anti-saccades, real simple. And you can do this by yourself again so that we can separate. Pen, dead center. We're going to pull it back as close as we can. My glasses make it easier for me. There. I see two. I should still only see one until I'm almost there. Devoutly two. Until you get close to your nose. With my glasses off, it's even worse. I'm two way out here. So what you're going to do is literally train this in. You're going to train it in, come in, come in, come in, come in, come in, come in, and out. And train it in. You can go slow at first. And remember, this is similar to a Brock string, only you're having a smooth transition with your depth perception. That's convergence because your eyes should be coming together. And then divergence is your eyes spreading out until they're centered and they can both see it equally. And you move into depth perception. If you have a strong or weak eye, then what you can do is close one eye or cover one eye and do eye push-ups with this. Do eye push-ups with this. A real cool test to see if you have a strength or a weakness in particular. I have patients, and I use it a lot after head trauma. I'll have patients, as I come in here, pretend this eye is stronger. As these start moving closer and closer together, This one takes over. The weakness shows this eye will be moving to middle. This should, but it doesn't. It matches the move to middle by it'll start to come in, then it starts going out until this eye stops. Now the left eye is way out here. So what you've got to do is strengthen that by covering. And I did first time I ever did that, I'll never forget it. Amazing. And what you'll do is you'll do eye push-ups here, and you'll do eye movements, strengthening this, center it. You can do it right over the middle of the eye to work on the perception part, then move it to middle so that the eye has to track in. Then do it off center a little bit so that the eye has to track in until you can't see it anymore because my glasses are in the way, and then back out. And you can do eye push-ups, off center, over center, and over your eye. Okay. And pursuits that way to train it in. It's really, really hugely important. Get your eyes working together because that information, it really sets up, it'll disrupt balance, it'll disrupt vestibular function. It really disrupts the way your eyes work. I mean, you can imagine there's always that person that you've met somewhere, even if it's at a Waffle House or something to make, I saw this as a comedian. And I saw a comedian do this, and he said there's always that, and he didn't know what it was. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. They had a right eye, left eye dominant. And he was talking about this waitress he had, and she literally, when she was talking to him, it gets sloppy enough, and you might know people. This eye, if it's a left eye dominance, your brain has a hard time trying to put together the two different, if this drifts out a little bit because this one's in control more, then your brain decides it doesn't collect this information anymore and it stops paying attention to it, and it'll just fall out as if it never worked. But your brain just chooses to not listen to it or not use that vision anymore because it uses the dominant eye. If you have a child that does that, and all you have to do is do this, and if one of the eyes pushes out, that's the eye you're going to work on, right? And that's hugely important. Visual information is top tier. You want to be able to see stuff. That's for me. That's the biggie. And those are the eye exercises. I get lost in my story again, right? Those are the eye exercises that I really push: saccades, anti-saccades, pursuits, convergence, and divergence. Hugely important because they stimulate all the different areas of the brain. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask right now about anything we've actually talked about.
I'm going to read to you. If you can't see YouTube, Sister Selena, she has made a couple of statements here. And it's when you were talking in the very beginning.
Yeah.
You talked about the brain acting like a computer. She was saying, so the brain takes in computer nature, the same as actual nature. And then she comes back and she says, the stimulation, is it the same? And then she says, you just explained to me things I see in camp with the kids in this population. I'll start with the plank. Please tell me the ones you're working with and the exercise you use for writing so she can write it down. So I'll let you handle her, and then I got stuff that I'll come up with for me. Okay.
Yeah, all right. I'm looking forward to it. The idea is the virtual and real nature. The reason I implied and said that, and I think I said it like that they would both work is because pretend you're looking, first with sister, we'll look at, pretend you're looking at a computer picture and you've got of the woods and the way these HD things and for whatever they are, you get details, don't you? You get details in these pictures. So now your brain has to sort through that. And then you've got these round TVs even. Your brain, it's almost like you're in it, they say. Ours is flat. But you've got like this screen here. I'm looking at it. Pretend the letters are actually trees and bushes and grass. My brain has to sort through all of that to find out the sentence I left off in and all of that stuff. So imagine you've got this beautiful scenery on your screen. And in the case of nature, I think the bigger the better the screen for nature stuff. And your brain has to sort through all of that and put it together. But real nature is even better. I think. But fake nature is because you get out there and you're stimulating, you're tying in smell, you're tying in temperature, you're tying in sounds. Well, no, TVs can have sound too, but you're missing smell and you're missing temperature. Really cool. But yes, virtual scenes can give a lot of stimulation to the brain, a lot. That's why we actually use, if they let us, depending on how stubborn particularly my autistic kids are. Because think about that autism. That left hemisphere is so on, and it loves focused attentions. Focused attention. It likes what it's familiar with. It likes similarity. It likes to see the pattern. It doesn't like things changing. That's why a lot of my parents will tell me the kid gets up and he does this and she does that, and this is first and this is second, and this. And if I stop them in the middle of something, they lose their minds because they didn't finish their pattern. The visual, the nature stuff, I like to use on the TV. I actually use tunnels to allow them to focus. And all of my kids right now are a blue, white with a tint of pinkish red, just because I like a little left brain stimulation. But we use a lot of tunnels for that. But it gives them the 3D effect. And it's really cool. And it sucks them right in, and they're standing there on a Vibe platform. And the reason I say that like nature is because I have another young man that actually likes real nature while we've got the pads on his head, while we got what we call brain drivers on his head, while he's left strong. So we've got blinking blue lights in the corner of those glasses. We've got sounds over his ear. And since we're trying to stimulate his right hemisphere, we've got a thing over here. He likes the nature stuff. So we make sure he can hear it on the TV. He's watching it on the TV. He loves fish swimming, real fish. He loves nature scenes on the TV when we make a choice. I've got another boy that's very strong left hemisphere. He hasn't had as much training. He's new. He likes watching cooking shows because there's a pattern and it repeats itself. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I've been watching the same cooking show while he's on the Vibe platform for 20 minutes a day, and we have to restart it the same. I mean, it's like, woo, and I don't cook or bake. But that's his pattern. And that's a lot of stimulation, not nature, but there's a depth perception to it. There's a process to it. We tried to transfer that focus over into nature scenes and the tunnel, and he can't handle it yet. He's not regulated enough. So we're doing more regulation. We laser and all that stuff. So yes, but I think personally and all that stuff, research shows TV works, real nature works. And of course, real nature works other senses, not just visual. Then when we talk about planks and core work, we start with hip bridges, which is the easiest one. You're lying on your back, your legs are bent, your feet are flat on the floor. You can set your feet however you want to so that you're stable. Your hands are by your side, and literally by your side, wherever they want. And then I'm usually doing them with them, and the parent is first. We show the parent the first few visits, and we'll have the parent do them for just a second or two in a lot of cases. But we'll do it, and then I'll be tapping their hip to remind them to keep their behind off the floor. Does that make sense? And then the next step is to bring their hands onto their chest with their legs apart. Then we bring their legs together. Now it becomes very hard, and that's the hip bridge. At the same time, then when I finish a hip bridge, literally, we'll roll over. And it's good to demonstrate because they like to see my movement. They'll get into that pattern. We'll hit the floor together, depending on where they are. They put their feet almost exactly the same spot, or if they've got them together, I just tap the leg and they bring their feet together and their legs together and they'll lift up. They'll know. I'll put my hands on my chest. They'll copy me. There's that pattern, and that's harder. Hands on the chest, feet together, hips up. The goal is to get them up to 60 seconds. And then we do one leg at a time. We set them up, then we lift one leg off the floor, and we train that in. And that's up to 60 seconds. Then we roll them over, or at the same time, when we do whatever stage they're in the bridge, there's 10 different levels in Malillo's stuff. We roll them over. Now we're doing Superman. The goal is to have the arms off the floor, straight, the head off the floor, looking up at the hands or as high as they can. And while they're lying there, their feet are up off the floor. Okay. So that eventually level 10 is everything off the floor except for their stomach, their middle, right? And that's the Superman. That's what we do is hip bridge. That's the easiest pattern to work with most of my kids. But if they have a strong thing, we start with that. And then we move over to the things they're weaker in. But typically I'll start with a hip bridge, roll over, we'll do a Superman. And then after they do a Superman, we get them up into, we try to get a plank. If they can't do it on their toes, cannot do it on their toes, hands under, we'll do it on the forearm. I'm sorry, we'll do it on the forearms first. I think all of my kids right now are on their hands. Yeah. All of them are on their hands. But typically we'll start on the forearms. And then what we'll do is I'll slide their legs back a little bit. I always do mine either on my forearms or my hands on my toes. So they see where we're going eventually, but we don't demand it on day one. And then eventually we get them back, get the legs back. And then I'll say, okay, lift your knees off the floor. We'll tap the legs to get the legs up and they'll start doing planks. The Superman, we literally start, and you can see how we transition from here to there. The Superman will start with just the head and the arms lying on the mat. Then we get the head in one arm. Then we get the head in the other arm. Then we get and then we'll do the head and the leg, the head and the leg. Then we try to get them the head and the opposite leg. Excuse me, I like to do both hands at the same time, but you're also trying, or you can do arm, head, arm, and opposite leg. That way they keep that straight line, if that makes sense. Because if I get them on one side, same side leg, they roll to get them off the floor. So what we do is we do head, arm, opposite leg, head, arm, opposite leg. And then we try it. And I'm always demonstrating a full Superman to try to get them to do it too. And sometimes we'll say, okay, let's get started with a Superman. I had a kid, today's Thursday, Tuesday. Hadn't ever done a full Superman. I said, okay, we rolled over. I said, okay, let's start the Superman. Man, he went into a full Superman. He didn't last for 30 seconds, but he brought everything off the floor. His legs came off the floor. Dad, the sister were there. Man, people, we were like, there's no way. He held it up. Maybe, I guess Noemi counted up to 3 and he failed. And then we went just halves, the top half and the bottom half. But literally, sister, if you're working with this population, these kids will do it. And one of the best things you can do is demonstrate it. After we do the Superman like that, after we do the plank, then we have them, because I think a side plank is even harder than a front plank, because you got 4 pieces of contact, 2 hands, 2 feet. We get them onto a side plank. That's almost always forearm. And what we do is we start with the side. We've got a forearm down. I'll turn this way so that you can see what I'm doing. We've got a forearm down, right? Like this. Then we've got the hand there to help stabilize. There's a 3-point contact, the arm, the hand, and then we usually have, and the same thing, we'll tap the hip and we let them use their knees first. Their legs are bent and they're on their forearm, their hand, and the knees. And we train that in. And once that becomes real solid, we try to teach them to straighten their legs out. Then they get the knee off the floor. Then they have their feet front to back. It doesn't matter whether the top leg is in front or behind. That's not what I'm paying attention to. As long as they're stable and strong, everything is in the core. Then we try to get them to stack their feet. This same boy the other day, I think it was Tuesday, killed everything. Not only did he do his side plank to his feet, but he stacked his feet the way he sees me do it. So, and we taught his sister to work with him at home and the way she does it. And I got to tell you, didn't say stack your feet, and he stacked his feet. So he's doing a side plank with his feet stacked. So he's literally only got this contact and the down foot contact, and he's doing a side plank. And remember how important these planks are to, I'll move that up, how important they are to your cerebellum. And this side is right cerebellum, right arm, right cerebellum, right leg, right core. This is left cerebellum. And believe it or not, you can even see it depending on what their dominant hemisphere is. It's really cool that you'll see the dominant hemisphere is going to be opposite the strong side musculature. Really, really interesting. And it all ties together. It literally all ties together. We found out a patient that we thought was doing exceptionally well until we got to the eye stuff. And believe it or not, his core, his muscular work is unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's 23 years old. They graduated from high school. He couldn't read or write, couldn't hardly talk, but they gave him a high school diploma. And now he's 23 and he's got a job offer. He starts his new job at the local hospital. They have a program. He's talking, he's doing simple math. He can read a little bit. We put up a new design on the wall for eye testing, and doing his eye testing, even though he can stand, he demonstrated all this muscle skill, all this cerebellar function, all this balance stuff while he walks. We had him stand on a tube, a foam roller, nailed it. I can't center myself. He nailed it, didn't move. We went to a count of 60 and he never wavered. But when we did an eye test today, because we examine all the time, also re-examine, we had him use a headlamp with a red laser light, and we've got these taped patterns. You'll see them on our Go to Brain Body Neuro Rehab Instagram, Brain Body Neuro Rehab. We're going to post the designs we have taped on the walls. When he did his diagonal, tracing out diagonal lines, he fell off the line. He's going straight, up and down, sideways, nailed it. But then we noticed that on the maze parts where we changed it, and it wasn't just straight anymore, it was diagonal, he'd fall off the line with the headlamp. And it happened on both sides. So we re-upped to cerebellar training. So that's really cool with the eye stuff. I think that's everything you asked me. Was that everything she wrote, sister?
I think pretty much she's
Okay.
saying that she says she got it. She said, I was just going to ask, what's the timeline for the first results? And then she comes back and says, it's probably personalized.
Oh, they're very personalized. What we
Yeah.
typically see is, I got to tell you though, you'd be really surprised. The fastest kid, I was just introduced to him, second week. This is the second week. This kid is young kid. His parents are both ex-athletes though. His mother was a scholarshiped basketball player, Division I. And dad was an athlete throughout school. He's taller than I am, a little wider in his shoulders, probably played at a higher level than I did. He's an ex-basketball coach. Just the parents are very, very outdoorsy, very busy, very athletic, and very high functioning. Both of them hugely successful in their fields. I mean, like exceptionally successful in their fields. And they still not only just high brain function, but high movement and motor function. These guys have encouraged their boy to do everything out there. He's monkey barring it. He hangs on my bars. He was dead hanging. He does a dead hang for 60 seconds, killing it. And he moved along on a couple things really quickly, but that brain stem, he jumped ahead. He's a couple things, he's pretty high level. But man, when you tilt his head forward, his whole body collapses because he didn't develop he didn't get rid of a couple reflexes. The sister that works with those kids, there's something called the tonic labyrinthine reflex. You do extension and you do flexion, standing or kneeling down. And you'll see the fail. You'll see the wobble. They start to fall when they're standing, or they completely, if you tilt back, they'll push back. Or if you tilt forward, their feet will push them forward, or they completely fail bilaterally. That's what he does. When his head is tilted forward, he's got no strength, no muscular It's crazy. So literally his program, he came in and he's nailed some stuff. I mean, I'm amazed with some of the physical stuff he does, but his core is off because his head, his brain stem, that TLR is still controlling any kind of flexion movement. He can use large muscle groups. He likes swimming. What else? Like the monkey bars. He's he's horrible at playing catch because it's in front of him and he has to bend forward, and that's where he starts to fail. So it's really cool. They're very customized programs. But even though he did a couple things exceptionally on day two, literally on day two, most of the kids really start showing improvements on day three. It's almost like clockwork. They might sleep better the second night, but the third day they come into the office, they literally, that's usually when we see a lot more emotional regulation, a lot of bad habits ramp down. They get less aggressive with us. This boy, day one, he came in, he remembered us. We did his initial exam a month ago. He was so excited. His parents said that he was so excited to come back when they said they were going over to Melbourne. And yeah, it was amazing. And he couldn't wait. And every day he comes in excited and then starts giving us pushback when we start strengthening his core and trying to get rid of that TLR. But it's very customized. But at the same time, sister, to answer your question, it's like clockwork at about day three. We start seeing jumps, or the parents tell us he or she is noticing things and participating more or saying things. If they're higher functioning, sleeping better is a huge thing because now they're resting correctly and their sympathetic nervous system is ramped down a lot so that they don't wake up at every little sound, so that they're not so high strung. Hugely important. Day three is like it.
Alhamdulillah, I think she has accepted it. All right, I'm going to come in. I'm going to kind of summarize because you talked a lot and you really did hit my heart. When I read in the Quran about the forelock, Allah says he's going to have us dragged by a lion, sinful forelock. When I read that, it just hit my heart. So that frontal lobe, that forelock, to me, it controls the knowledge that's coming into my body that hits my heart.
Yes.
When it hits
yes,
my
sister.
Heart,
oh my God.
Yes.
We're
When it
thinking
hits
the
my
same
heart,
thing.
Yes, when it hits my heart, I know my cerebellum, as you talked about, is balanced and controlling all of that together. Oh my gosh, this thing here. Okay, it's controlling all of that together. And then you mentioned how important it is for the feet to feel the carpet, to feel the floor underneath. Those of us who have neuropathy, we know we got to have certain shoes. We got to know where our feet are. We got to be balanced when we're walking. If not, we will tilt over just like our car, which loses gas, will fall right down. Alhamdulillah.
Right off the cliff. Yeah.
And also, getting up and down is so important, as you stated, to get up and down, up and down. We don't realize how important that is. You get up, you do this, you get up, you do that. You can't sit for so long. You need to get up and get down. Also, remembering when we used to use maps to get to places. Now we're using the GP, the G thing. And when you use that G thing, it takes you where you want to go. But what you're missing out on is, where are you? When you get to where you're going, how did you get there? So when you don't use a GPS and use your mind, you will understand you got to remember where you are so that you can go back to the same place. And the heaviest thing that hit me tonight was when you said the people can see. They can see you, they can hear you, but no, they can't see you, but they can hear you, they can feel you. It brought to mind that Allah says in the Quran, when they took Jesus and they thought they crucified him, Allah says they killed him not. He says, I took him to myself. So there are people in the world who cannot see that. So Allah had, at that time, during that particular episode, they were blind. They didn't see that Allah took Jesus up to himself, and he's alive today, waiting to come back. So that's the highlight of what I want to share.
Yeah, mashallah. Thank you. I
You're
agree that
welcome.
you hit some really high points for me too, sister. That forelock, not to discount, because I'm a big fan of the pure heart and getting into Jannah and all the hadith and all the verses about getting the black spots off your heart and the sickness and the organ and the one piece of and all of the everything related to the heart. And I've got to tell you and admit to you, everyone that can hear me, I did not understand that until as much as I do today, until just a couple years ago. I'm not going to lie to you. One of the things that jumps out to me the most is how excited Imam Ibrahim was. Well, I was. We were the first time I went to Mecca, and we were raising money for the Boca Masjid. We were trying to build a masjid, and for some reason there were a lot of brothers around us at the time that knew people in Abu Dhabi, Mecca, Riyadh, those areas. So we hit them all. And Ibrahim just knew that the first time when we went to make, we got there and we made Umrah right away. And the first time I went, he was like, I know I'm going to see Abdurrahman cry. And I didn't cry. And I was excited. I was happy. I was like, I was here. And I was kind of happy, but I didn't cry. And not like I do now, if you can relate to me. The last couple of years, I'll jump to the end. The last couple of years of why that is because I spent so much time reading the two different books of the men and women around the Sahaba. I mean, the men and women around the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the two different versions, the women around the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This talk has helped made me read this station, and you guys have made me read more, and all that knowledge that I have decided and initiated on pursuing. And the book I told you, it's literally right here. I'm going to take some quotes and some information out of it that really relates back to, and Sister Layla said she's studied it before and she really likes it, but it's literally Reflecting on the Names of Allah by Dr. Jinan, sorry, Sister Jinan Yusuf. Phenomenal book, and it's long, but it's such an easy read. You can see I write all over it. I've got page markers. It's just the more I use my forelock, as Sister Anissa was saying, the more I use my forelock to learn Islam and to read the Quran and to read books that help me understand my Quran, the more I feel it in my heart, and the more I hope, inshallah, my heart is purified, because my kids will tell you, my daughter was trying to impress a really tough athlete, really nice kid. And she wanted him, she thought he'd do well in it. He should, as my kids do, they're talking our religion all the time. Casual conversation, our religion comes up, mashallah. And this young man had heard about it, and he asked her a few questions about it when he found out she was Muslim. And I went to one time we were talking, and she asked him to join us. And she asked me to talk about the story, if all of you know, Juleybib, radiallahu anh, died early on. Juleybib. His story is like the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talks about, like we were like this close. When he died in the battle, he didn't have any family. He was a dwarf. He was malformed. Okay. And the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked about him. That's just a story. And she literally, yeah, I said, why would you make me tell that story in front of this guy? And she said, because everybody thinks you're such a tough guy. And I knew you would cry when you told that story. And I was like, oh my God. Because this kid was actually real sensitive too. Phenomenal athlete, unbelievable. I think he went pro as a basketball player over in Europe. Phenomenal. And literally, she wanted him to see that Islam also has a sensitive side, and you can still be strong and display your emotions in an appropriate way. But it's about, like Sister Anissa was saying, that stuff has finally, inshallah, has finally sunk in, if that makes sense. So yeah, I appreciate you, sister, for pointing out those things, because you literally hit all my high points. You should have given the talk today. Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. I meant
Yeah,
to say this also. We
yeah.
have a close friend, and for like the 4 or 5 years, she's had stroke. She's got blood
Oh,
clots. She's not moving. She's just basically almost paralyzed. And
oh,
when you stated that the young man you were dealing with that had a stroke, you raised his arm. He could raise his arm, but he moved his shoulder, and
yeah.
that struck me to think whatever part of her body that she can move, that's the part that she really should be working on. That's what a
Yes,
therapist should be working on. And I can
yes,
vouch for
that's,
that because
yeah,
I
I
have
agree.
been sitting too. And you
Yeah,
got to move whatever part you can move. So
whatever you
alhamdulillah for
can.
that.
If you can't move your
Yes.
fingers, you move your wrist. If you can't move your wrist, you
Yes.
move your elbow. You just take it
Something.
until this is all you can do, and
Yes.
eventually this will start to go.
Yes.
It unless the nerves have completely died somehow, and
Yes.
that's a rare
Yes.
occasion, they still talk. You just have to remind them of what the conversation is. Uh,
Alhamdulillah.
oh, I
Alhamdulillah.
meant to tell you
Thank
too,
you,
Sister
brother.
Anissa.
Hmm.
We use in the office I used to work in, we had a neuropathy program, and those red light boots between, like I said, 600 to 800 nanometers or NMs, there's a lot of affordable little red light boots that come up to about mid calf. We use those in the office, and we would put TENS units. If the patient could tolerate a TENS unit, we'd stim the nerves with current also. Man, you'd be surprised at how neuropathies can clear up with the majority of our patients. I got to tell you, I want to say 90, I'm going to say at least 80. 8 out of 10 off the top of my head, patients got improvement. I can only think of one that told me she didn't at the old office. These guys, the neuropathy protocols work, and those red booties with the red and infrared light, but they're just LEDs, not laser. They still work, along with a little bit of muscle stim on the feet itself. Man, changes people's lives. I'm not lying, and they're cheap ones too. So you could think about that. All right,
Anyone
everyone.
on Zoom? Anyone
Yeah.
on Zoom,
Anyone?
Sabrine? Anyone here want to add or make a comment? Fresno? Layla's streaming, so I'm not sure how
Yeah,
long it
yeah,
will take her.
absolutely.
I just
Yeah.
came in. I was doing my live, so I didn't really
Oh,
hear
Okay.
what he was saying. So
Oh,
Okay.
I can't
oh,
Alhamdulillah.
comment too much.
Alhamdulillah. Go ahead,
Can you
Sabrine.
hear me? Can you hear me, doctor?
Yes,
yes,
go ahead.
sister. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Walaikum assalam. One of the things I was saying is that what I've noticed about myself personally was some of the exercises that you have us do while you're on the program.
Yeah.
I do those, like with the thumb, the hands,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can feel
Yeah.
that something, I'm not a doctor, but I can feel something is being triggered positively. And like
Yes.
I remember you saying you wish you could because I have a lot going on with the brain and with all that and I have had doctors, I've had a neurologist
Yeah.
that was interested in me as far as neuropathy, and I was wondering if maybe I should pursue that more now that I've changed to Kaiser, and these doctors aren't aware of that. Maybe I should bring it up.
I got to tell you, I would, because if you can get into physical therapy and just get safe movement, because some people get carried away. You want as much movement as possible, safe, controlled movement, and the neuropathy protocols. I would recommend. I'm not lying. I got to tell you, I'm not lying. That well, hopefully, I really don't. The idea is that this using the red and the infrared light and stimming the feet. If it's not, sometimes we had to ramp the stim down to bare perception, because like a lot of the people with neuropathies will tell you anything can trigger pain at that point when those nerves are too sensitive. So sometimes we'd have to delay the stim, other times, and you could even stim above the lower leg. You know, if you got neuropathy up to mid calf, well, put the stim pads on your thighs because those nerves come up that high, but that usually doesn't stimulate the pain. And what we do is literally, if your feet hurt, we're going to stim. We might stim here, and eventually you'll be able to get down, and we'll move the pads closer and closer and closer to your feet because we want to stimulate the whole length of the nerve. But we make the patients wear these lit booties, the red and infrared booties to wrap around the legs to really give those cells and the nerves the energy, the oxygen. Research shows that increased red and infrared can stimulate increased blood flow. Every nerve has blood flow, running around it. Blood vessels running around it because those nerves are so active. The more movement you can get, the more blood will circulate. The more, like I said, I love red and infrared. That increases the blood flow to the area while you're moving. And then the TENS unit means the nerves will be feeling something. They'll be sending a message, and the nerves will ask for more blood and oxygen and food. So when you combine movement with red and infrared and a little muscle stim, that protocol changed people's whole lives. And with strokes, it would be the same thing. I'd laser the affected limbs. I would TENS unit, muscle stim the affected limbs, and I'd be moving the affected limbs. If it won't make things worse, it's always the more movement, sister. And I would, if I were you and you had the insurance coverage, I'd jump all over it.
Yeah,
Go with the
because
professionals that know you. Either that or move to Melbourne and I'll take care of you. All right.
okay. Another thing too. What about this numbness in the feet?
Yes. What can happen is that lack of nerve function. Patients either have neuropathy is typically applied to the painful part of it. But neuropathy is actually nerve pathology. So if your nerves pathology is not working right. So if the nerves are not working right, they may be so affected, and picture a decreased, if you're not moving as much, the muscles aren't demanding as much oxygen, as much food, as much blood flow. And if you're not able to move that much, that being said, that keeps the nerves don't have to work as hard. They don't have to stay as alert. They don't have to, they actually start to just not be in demand. They lose their, it's really important to understand there is a true use it or lose it. The same goes for your brain, the same goes for your muscles, and the same goes for the nerves that are out in your body, in your muscles and areas. The more you use them, the more the feeling will come back. When I say neuropathy in the office, I meant both numbness, no feeling, and pain. I had a patient tell me after 2 months, about 2 months, 3 months. It was a year ago, 2 years ago. Anyway, she came in one day and she said, I woke up this morning and it was the first time I felt the sheets on my toes in 2 years. So that was all numbness. And she was only in her 40s. Late 40s. Yeah, late 40s, maybe early 50s. And she literally had no feeling. She didn't even feel bed sheets on her feet. Excuse me. She didn't even feel bed sheets on her feet. But we used the neuropathy protocol we were using. And it changed her whole life. She could actually feel her feet now. So I absolutely can vouch for the fact that you get the right MD out there, the right physical therapist, you get the right treatment, and you can get improvement. You may not be jogging, but you can get improvement.
All right, because that's
And I
very
don't jog either.
Yeah, I
yeah.
have a question. Go
Yeah.
ahead. You finish, Sabrina.
I
Nothing.
am. Thank
Okay.
you,
Look.
doctor. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Okay. I can feel my feet,
Uh-huh.
and I can feel. Ain't nothing wrong, and it's not numb. And what did you say? It was. Oh, I wrote it down. Shoot, I hate when I write down stuff and then can't find it. Anyway, I can feel
Yeah.
my. It just feel. Okay, I'm kinesthetic. In my feet, it's just like on my nerve. It feels like a bunch of uh uh a bunch of on my
Is it,
nerve type of stuff
would it
in
be,
my feet.
is it like tingling? Is it like crawlies? Is it like ants on your legs? Is it,
It's my feet, and
yeah, feet?
it's like I'm so bad
We,
with this. I can't even
there's a
tell
real
my
cool
dog.
word called paresthesia, meaning it's just a weird sensation that you can't put a description to.
Yeah. So what
Okay.
is that?
That's
I don't
usually,
have.
yeah, that
Go
could
ahead.
be the beginnings. That could be the beginnings of your neuropathy. Your nerves are not getting the right, your nerves are working real hard to stay alive. Literally. There are times, if I can jump up to the brain, people have seizures when an area is under functioning and the nerves are trying to stay alive, so they fire for no reason at all. You could be having weird feelings in your legs, or excuse me, in your feet. You could have weird feelings in your feet because those nerves are just trying to send messages up. They don't care what the message is, they just want to stay alive. If I were you early on, I'd start massaging my feet, just the feet, right? Stimulating the feet, rub them, get something soft, get a tennis ball you can run your feet over because the tennis ball has cloth on it. Any kind of stimulation you can put into your feet, I'd start doing it to get
Okay.
those nerves information, cold and hot, any kind of temperature change, heavy touch, light touch. Walk out in the grass if you've got a neighborhood in your yard. When I get home, on
Kinesthetic.
my
I can't walk out there on that nasty. Ugh, you kidding me?
yeah, I feel you, sister. There are places I won't take shoes off. Absolutely.
So you say walking. So walking on the grass. I guess that'll be about the best thing to walk on
Well,
the grass.
you could
How
also
often?
do soft
Go ahead.
carpeting
I could walk on the carpet barefoot, take my shoes
barefoot.
off, and just walk on the floor.
And literally, if you're sitting in the chair, move your feet across the carpet, anything to send in stimulation in your feet. I'm not lying.
Okay, so now can I
Yeah,
have on my socks or take my socks off?
I like socks off.
Okay. So
Um,
socks off and just run my feet as I'm sitting here talking to you, just run my
oh,
feet across
absolutely.
the floor like that.
Yep. You can tap them. And then remember, we also want to increase blood flow to those nerves. So I would do a lot of, if your feet are flat on the floor, if your feet are
Mhm.
flat, I would do a lot of go to
Oh,
my toes and press up, go to my heels and pull my toes up. Just get those feet going. Excuse me. Get those feet going so that you increase blood flow to the muscles. Does that make sense? That way, while you're feeling with the nerves, you're giving them more blood, more oxygen, and more food into the nerve also, or around the nerve.
let me try to do this while you talking. Wait a minute. I'm gonna
Socks
turn
off
it.
and take the
Telling you
socks off
correct.
and
You're
go.
telling you correct. I have
Oh God.
neuropathy.
Okay, so what you say? Up, heel.
Yeah, what you're going to do,
Catching a
put your feet
cramp.
flat on the
Okay.
floor, lift your
Uh-huh.
toes off the floor as far as you can.
Oh, lift my toes up. Uh-huh.
Yep. Your whole foot if
Mhm.
you can. Then push your toes down and lift your heels up.
Oh, okay. And if
Just
I'm catching a cramp, that means I need to go drink some water, right?
yeah, I would actually recommend quinine water.
Oh, please, I ain't gonna do all that. But
It's cheap. You
okay,
can get that stuff at the store.
that sounds horrible. Quinine. That
Oh,
quinine
I
sounds like something
it's
my mama
it
used to
doesn't. It doesn't taste good, believe me. But that's what my mother uses.
try. Okay,
Anyway,
so
but you
toes
can
up down.
also put your feet out. You can also let your heels rest on the floor with your leg, like this. Pretend the floor is right here and your feet are just sitting there. You can
Mm-hmm.
also just wiggle them too, with your
Oh,
legs
okay.
out straight. If you're in a recliner and your legs are up, you just
Mhm.
wiggle your feet
I'm in a
just to
chair and
keep.
my feet are on the floor. So do what?
Oh, I'd lift them up and set them down, lift them up and set them down, lift them up and set them down. Press your heels
Okay.
off the floor, keep your toes on the floor. pull your toes off the floor, keep your heels on the floor, slide your legs back and forth. Whatever sensation you can get into your feet, you should get into your feet.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, it's on my nerves so bad. It's like
Yeah.
the padding. The doctor had me get these pads to put there a long time ago, and I still, you know what I mean? So that when I put the pad on, it feels a little bit better, but
Yeah.
is it because the padding is going out or what, or not?
Well, your feet are probably so sensitive that that cushion is less information in there. You're not getting as much information in the feet, so it doesn't drive your feet crazy and it feels better. But I got to tell you, you need to stim the feet, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm making suggestions based on, yeah, I'm just making suggestions on what I've done in the office. And then there are some things, if it bothers you, you take it away. That's what I do with my patient.
Okay, look, doctor, is it in your books? Because I ain't gonna remember what you said. What page is it at in your book?
It's not in the religious book, but I'm about
your book that I bought.
No, it's not in that one.
Oh. Okay.
The one who's right,
By
who's
the
wrong,
man,
and
by
why?
the doctor, that man, the kids, the sick, what was it? Some book I
Oh,
bought.
Dr. Malillo?
Yeah, is it in there?
He's got some really good exercise. He has nothing for neuropathy. No.
Okay.
That's a good book, though. That's a good book. For your grandson, wasn't it? Yeah.
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 Okay,
that's a
so
good
back
book.
to me. So
Yes.
toes down, heels up, toes down, right?
It literally will look like this. If this hand is the floor, this hand is your foot, toes up, heels up, toes up, heels up.
Okay. Sabrina, I think you was trying to say something.
Yeah, that'll hit both the front and back of your legs
No,
too.
that was me. That was
I'm
me.
sorry.
I have neuropathy badly because it came from my cancer treatment, and it comes up my legs. So my feet and my legs are numb, and I'm walking on clouds at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. My left foot may burn. I've had 2 toes amputated for my left foot, so I just have to go to a law and keep moving.
Yeah.
Keep
Absolutely.
moving. I
Rely on
can't
the
take
law
that
first.
gabapentin that they gave me. I'm allergic to that, so I don't take anything other than Tylenol. And
Yeah,
I
that's
you know
nurse
what?
to a law.
Years ago, I had a neurologist put me on gabapentin. Gabapentin, I think it's called. But
That's it. Yeah, I couldn't take that.
I stopped taking it too.
Yeah, it
But
messed me up.
yeah, and he didn't push me to start back with it again or something.
No.
He used to check my feet, to make sure that what is that little thing they use like a hammer?
Oh yeah, reflex
Check your
hammer.
reflexes.
Absolutely.
He used to do that, and he was a neurologist.
Yeah. I only have one vein working in my left foot.
Long anyway. They
No
don't keep
way.
you on
Just
that
one.
long anyway.
Just one.
They only keep you on it for a short time. Gabapentin
That's
and all.
right.
That's just
Lyrica, all that stuff I was taking spring that I stopped in October, all that stuff wasn't doing the thing for me. Lyrica.
So how long do you do the exercise?
The
I recommend
all the time.
At the very beginning, I'd knock out maybe 30 seconds to a minute and spread them out, because I don't want you next Thursday telling me you woke up with cramps in both legs one night.
I exercise every day, so it really ain't no thing. I use my shaker, so it's not like I'm just laying down here ain't doing nothing, but I need to know what to do for my feet.
What I would do is, if I were you, I treat it like a workout, and I would do 3 sets of 10 to 15, maybe up to 25. And then that's all I do today. See how I feel tomorrow, and take that day off. Then the next day you could do a little bit more or less, depending on how you felt.
Okay.
And treat it like a workout.
Thank you.
Yes, sister. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that
This is fun today.
That's only recently occurred. That was strange to me, because it mostly showed itself when I would wake up in the morning or something.
Yeah, that's part of getting old. They treat that stuff with exercise for the rest of your life. That's part of getting old.
It's tough. It is tough.
Mhm.
Mm.
And those strokes the sister had. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
part
and
of it.
I had strokes. I
Yeah.
had strokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sister Sabrine, check into the new doctors on your plan and let them start that stuff all over. Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna do that.
Inshallah, please.
Inshallah, I'm gonna ask my primary.
Yeah,
She's good at with referrals. If you
yeah,
know,
start there.
yeah. My daughter was telling me that she found a doctor for me, and she says in order to go to him, he's been around for a long time with Kaiser for many
Mhm,
years, and
mhm.
he's very good with feet,
Oh, no way. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that I should get his have my doctor would have to get a refer me to him,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah.
could go and see him.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's
And
what I would recommend too.
one more question for you, Dr. McBride. One of the sisters here is saying, is there any special vitamins that they can help with this stuff that they
Oh,
can
I got
take?
to tell you, real good. What you would say is, and it's easy to remember, B is for brain and nerves. When I say brain, I mean the whole nervous system. The different, the first thing, if you have insurance, the first thing you do is ask your physician to check your B levels. That is like, and you can also, you know what? I've got a real cool breakdown from a company years ago. They talk about what is in each food. Like if you are, it'll say vitamin B, for example, and it runs through all the Bs, and it'll say it's in this food. So rather than buying supplements, you would buy foods that you're going to eat anyway, and you would emphasize foods with vitamin B in it. You can emphasize foods with vitamin A in it. You can, and you'll see the overlap, and you can have rather than buying extra supplements, but you know, well, you can't see it because it's under my I can't say the word, but it's under my kafaya. Yes? Did I say it right?
That's good.
Okay. That's I've got all of my supplements are up under that. That's what's holding it up. So I do take supplements, but I also there are times when I don't take any of my supplements because I'm so on my diet and I'm so on my food and I am just like, wow, you know? So what I'll do is I'll try to get that. I know right where it is actually on one of my bookshelves. I'll grab that up and I'll figure out how to. I could probably post it on my Instagram, couldn't I? Or I could post it on our office Instagram. Um, I could take pictures and post it. I'll figure out a way to get you all the vitamin and mineral information, and you can literally look at it and see what you need based on how you feel. But for nerves, you start with B. You always start with all of the Bs because they work together. I'm not a big fan of taking just one like B12 or something. You should take all of the Bs because they help. B1 will help B2, help B12, help. I'm a big fan of if you've got any nerve issues, it's probably you should use your Bs, all the vitamin Bs.
Mashallah, I take a medication called Mentonex, which is
Mm.
a B vitamin with alpha lipoic acid that my podiatrist gave me. It costs $380, and I get it from them. And I paid like
Wow.
a quarter. I pay a
Oh,
half. Yeah,
okay.
it's very that they don't have it in the drugstores. My insurance don't cover it, but I have to have it, so I take it.
I
Been
gotta tell you,
taking it for the last couple of years.
if you can, I'm glad you said that about
Mhm.
alpha lipoic acid, like
Yes, I take that
alpha
too.
lipoic acid.
Hmm.
If you can find a way to get your essential fatty acids, all of
Yes.
your ALAs and G, is it? Oh, now I'm having a brain freeze. ALA, go after all of your fats. A lot of coconut oil, a lot of virgin
Hmm.
olive oil. What else do we take? Good if you like seafood and salmon and stuff, good fish from fresh caught. If you can eat as much fat as possible, fat does not make you fat, number one,
No.
believe me.
That's
Number
right.
two, fat is one of the best foods for your brain and nervous system. Fatty fish is
Yes.
I tell you, isn't that right, Sister Anissa?
I'm
Sister
telling you,
Layla?
you're saying it.
We
That
got
diet is important.
cod liver
Mhm.
oil.
Yes.
Our parents
And
and grandparents.
you know what,
Go ahead.
you know what upsets me? I take a blood thinner and I can't take cod liver oil or fish oil. And
Oh,
that
I
is
know
just a
you're
bummer.
upset. Yeah,
I
I
even
know
asked
you're
I even
upset.
asked the doctor when I went there last month, what can I do to substitute? Because I'm used to taking that all my life. Just well, you can't. You
Yeah.
can't. So the medicines that I'm taking to keep me from having a stroke and a heart attack,
Yep.
it stops me from getting some of the vitamins I need.
Yeah,
But I
that's too
use
bad.
my food. I eat
Yes.
in my food.
Yes. Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
food.
That's good.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. But for
Yes.
those of us that can't eat fats, go after your fats. And cod liver oil is the nastiest
Yes.
tasting, but one of
But
the
it's the best.
healthiest.
Comes in pills.
That too. Yep, yep,
It
yep,
comes in
yep,
pills.
yep.
I gave it to
I-
my mom to the day she died.
There you go. I'm
Hadn't
all
had a
about
cold since
I
I
use a
had
lot
it.
of teaspoon stuff. I do
Good.
things in
Yeah,
teaspoons.
I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot. Masha. Good class. Good class. Good class. This was a lot of fun. I'm
It's the
doing,
stuff we grew up on.
yes. Stuff I
Yeah.
grew up on.
Mm,
Mm-hmm. I'm
Okay,
good,
guys,
Mom.
this was a very good class,
yeah.
mashallah.
Oh
And
wow,
I'll
it's
see
already 9
about
o'clock.
what I can do as far as putting out the shorts. Make sure that everybody shares Dr. McBride's lectures and try to post them up on your social platforms, so we can try to get more people to join and learn how to take better care of the brain, the body, and all of that. Because remember, on the day of judgment, in fact, in your grave, your
Yeah,
body is going to testify either for you or against you.
exactly.
And we're going to be punished in our grave for not taking care of our bodies. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because this is an amana. Your body is an amana. And we're going to be punished whether or not we took care of our bodies. So this class is very important. So make sure you guys try to share, a benefit and share these lectures. So I'm going to close out for tonight. Don't forget, we have my class in about 20 minutes. We're going to do the thing called Siddiq Tafsir. It's going to be short because we're going to talk about apostation. And I'm going to do just that one, 2 pages, because I'm going to break that down because it's a lot to go over. I'm just going to make it short so as not to confuse you guys. So it's going to be a short class, so don't worry. So we will be back in about 20-25 minutes. Okay, everybody. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Please share the videos. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And let me figure out how to close this. How did I started it? Oh, and let me figure out how to do this. Wait a minute. Here we go. Because I had to do it the old-fashioned way. Am I the host, guys?
I think you're still the host.
Am I? Okay. I'm on a different, see, it's this other computer. I'm on a laptop. That's what it is. Let me log in on my other computer. I always get messed up on that laptop. I can't work nothing but the computer, not even the laptop.
That's interesting.
Yes, the computer. I tell you, I can only work this. Let me take.
All right, sister, you have a great class. I'm going to jump in the other room and eat a little bit.
Okay, may Allah bless you. This was